Peace everyone, Unmask Art here, and welcome back to the self-portrait live stream. Today I am going to continue working on the shirt, and I'm going to be doing a little bit of the the final details and whatnot on it. That is the plan for today. So I'm going to use some of my black to start building in the shadows again, and then I'll use some gray to pull out some of the highlights. Pretty much the same thing that I did like last week or whenever it was. I'm totally losing track of time by this point. But yeah, that's going to be the plan, and I think I'm just going to go ahead and start right here on this sleeve. Hey there, Sandri, Anna, Fritz. Good to see all of you in the chat here. Thank you so much for coming by. Today's going to be a slower process. No big changes happening too quickly. So just I'm warning you now. It's going to be a rather slow day. So have your questions ready and don't hesitate to ask them. I'll be very lightly applying my layers and just kind of getting the colors the right tone, while really right now I'm focused more on the value of the colors and a lot less about the color themselves, the tone of the color. If I can get the values done today, then I will start toning it with some of my red and green, because that will be the plan. Hey there, Lindy and Ulrich Lewan. Hopefully I pronounced that right. Good morning, Wendy. Very nice job on the woodpecker pastel painting, by the way. It came out very nice. I think, don't take it the wrong way. I think it might be one of the best pieces that I've seen from you. I hope that you're proud of it. Oh, hey there, Tessa. Good to see you. I hope everyone had a fantastic Tuesday. Yesterday was Taco Tuesday in my household. I don't know if I don't know if I talked about the taco thing that I made last week. I'm pretty sure that I did, but my wife and we had to do some grocery shopping yesterday, and fortunately we beat the rain. It started raining on our way back, and so we managed to make it back home before we got too wet. But and it's about to start raining again here in the next hour or so. Can't believe how much it's been raining. But yeah, I did some lentil taco filling and made my infamous refried beans, and then chopped up an avocado and some tomato. I didn't forget to buy a lime this time. Always got to squeeze a little bit of lime juice on your tacos. Oh yeah, absolutely, Wendy. Oh, sweet. I'm glad I got your name pronounced correctly the first try. I think it's all this practice that I get. New people come to the live stream, and I get all kinds of different names, and yeah, I just kind of become a natural at pronouncing people's names and remembering names. Yeah, that's another thing. I've gotten a lot better at remembering names. Hey there, Jama and Jesse. So yesterday I did a Patreon stream, and I'm not quite 100% finished with the lion. Let me grab it really quick. So this is what we finished up yesterday, and like I said, I'm not calling it 100% complete just yet. I think what I'll end up doing is using my pencils to just create a little bit more detail in the painting overall, and then I'll call it complete. But figured I'd show you guys what it looks like now. I'll probably just work on that. I don't know, tomorrow or something. Oh well, maybe not tomorrow since tomorrow's Thursday and I have 2 live streams to do on Thursdays. Maybe on the weekend or something if I have a spare moment. I'll just keep my pastel pencils handy to polish the details a little bit of that project. But we finished that over on Patreon yesterday, and still thinking of a new project, and I'm pretty much settled on doing a bird. So I don't remember ever doing a bird in pastels, so I thought that'd be a nice project to do. So I think that's going to be the next pastel project that I start next Tuesday. No, didn't find a house yet. um, still looking. Hopefully sooner rather than later. My wife, she's doing a little research on some real estate agencies to see if maybe we could get a little help from a realtor in locally or something, and she's just she's just looking stuff up. I can't look that stuff up because it's all in Polish, and that's one of the really annoying things about not speaking the language. Probably the most annoying thing is just not being able to do more of the complex life things that I would have no issue doing in America, and then making my wife do it all. You could do a crazy tree texture. Yeah. I think I'll leave the crazy tree textures to you, Wendy. I think I'm just going to focus on doing a bird. I don't know what kind of bird. Somebody mentioned yesterday about a black cockatoo. I don't even know what that looks like. I'm going to Google it right now. Hopefully I don't mute my microphone. I don't know how to spell. Oh, they look like a dirty regular cockatoo. like like a cockatoo was caught in a forest fire and they're covered in ash. It is cool looking though. I gotta give it that. Cool looking bird. I feel much more confident with this project now. I really, now that I have like the shirt filled in really well, and I've kind of gotten to this stage where I'm just polishing the shirt to make it look better. I feel a lot more confident about this project overall, and I think I'll be able to finish it quite easily within the next 9 days. We're below the 10-day mark. Below the 10-day mark. I still have a lot to do on the face and stuff, and I'll start on that tomorrow actually. Yeah, I'll start reworking the all the skin and stuff tomorrow and get it looking much better. Because right now the paper is barely covered here, which is why it kind of looks a little washed out. It doesn't quite look as bright as I want it to be. I should do a chimpanzee. You know what? I do. I think I have a reference photo of a chimp that I wanted to do. That could be a fun future project. I'll have to keep that in mind. I have a whole collection of different reference photos and stuff that I always felt like either coloring with colored pencils or painting with pastels. Just never get around to doing it. My wife and I are gonna go watch the new John Wick movie today. Yesterday, I finally showed her the movie Chocolate. I think there's a couple movies with the title Chocolate. I'm referring to the Thai movie, the fighting action movie. So just in case you happen to look it up, that's the one I'm talking about. Because I think there's also a French movie named Chocolate, but it's spelled with weird accented letters. She, of course, found it weird, which is fine by me. I still think it's a totally underrated movie. I was looking up to see what year it came out the other day, and I came across the reviews of the movie, and it actually reviewed quite low, and I thought that seems odd. Why would it review so low? But I guess rewatching it, I mean, it's far from a perfect movie, but it's still really unique. It's still a really unique movie, and so I have to recommend at least seeing it once. At least seeing it once. Oh, hey there, Alicia. Attempting first colored pencil background while watching you. Oh, cool. Trust me, patience will always pay off. Patience will always pay off. So as long as you don't lose that, you'll be in good shape. It's funny how much darker this looks on camera than it does in person. The shadows that I'm working on right now, they look so much darker on the camera than wonder. Yeah, they look quite a bit darker on camera than they are. um, Lots are doing kingfishers and birds of prey, but I'd like to see an everyday bird like a pigeon or a sparrow. You know what, Tessa? I like that idea. I was never a fan of the kingfisher. I never like, I never liked that bird. I don't, it does seem like a really popular bird to color. And I've seen a lot of people doing that bird, but for some reason, I don't know what it is. I just don't feel compelled to do that bird. But I do like the idea of doing like just an everyday normal bird that anybody can go out and see pretty much. So I do like that. I have some pictures that I've taken of pigeons also. I find pigeons to be hilarious birds. They're like, they just, for some reason, I always imagine pigeons just being really, really dumb. Just, if they could talk, I just feel like they would sound really stupid. And they make me laugh most of the time, especially when you see the one pigeon all puffed up chasing another pigeon. It just makes me laugh every time I see it. Yeah, maybe I'll go much simpler with the bird choice. Something far less exotic. I like that idea. I always have liked like ravens or crow, whatever you call it. Just the normal blackbird. Because they're super smart birds. They're one of the smartest birds. I thought we were going to make a fish. I'm doing the fish is the colored pencil tutorial. I'm talking about the pastel tutorial. And the pastel tutorials are Tuesdays on Patreon. Colored pencils are on Thursdays. I already have the fish project started, but I'm not going to do a fish in both pastels and colored pencils. It's too much. It's too much fish for me. What's a cheap but quality paper you can recommend for me for colored pencils? I would say the Stonehenge paper. You can get Stonehenge vellum paper or Stonehenge colored pencil paper for a really reasonable price, and I used that paper for many years. It was always one of my favorites to use with colored pencils. But just like strictly colored pencils, it's not a paper that I would do markers on. That's why I like the smoother paper, because not only does it work really well with just colored pencils, but it also works really well when I want to incorporate markers into my work. So I just like the flexibility. But this paper here that I'm using is a little bit expensive, so the Stonehenge is a good brand. It's a quality brand, and it's a lot less expensive than some other papers. Another really good paper, actually, that's quite inexpensive is the Strathmore toned paper. I think the toned paper looks fantastic, and it works great with colored pencils. And it's not all that expensive either. So you don't have to go, breaking the bank to get quality paper. You can find some cheaper paper. But those are Stonehenge and Strathmore are probably two of my favorite brands. I've been using them for many years now, and they've never let me down. I'd recommend, if you're kind of new and you're just getting into colored pencils, I recommend a bit of a toothier paper. What I mean by that is something that has a little bit of texture to it, like the Stonehenge vellum. Um, the Strathmore toned paper is fairly smooth, but it still has plenty of room to get like a lot of layers, and it has a lot of flexibility in it. But the smoother papers, like the Bristol and the plate paper, like this one here, I'd hold off on that for a little while until you get some experience with your colored pencils. Is it best to use smooth paper than texture paper? It's a personal preference. Paper is a very common conversational piece when it comes to colored pencils. I'm always being asked what paper I use and what paper I recommend, and I always say the same thing. Paper is 100% and always will be a personal choice. There's no such thing as the best paper because it all boils down to personal preference. Some people will some people love working on watercolor paper. Some people love working on sanded paper. Some people like me love working on this really smooth paper, and other people like working on a more mid-range paper where it has a little bit of texture but it's still relatively smooth. So it's no one is right, no one is wrong. It's just 100% subjective, and what I always try to recommend is trying as many different papers as you possibly can, because it took me several years to really find my paper choice, and then once I found it, I knew like this is the paper that I like to use, and this is the paper that I'm going to just continue to use. And so here I am using the paper that I found several years ago, and I just enjoy working on it. I just flat out prefer this paper in comparison to many of the others that I've tried. But I did give them all a try. I've tried several different brands and types of watercolor paper. I was never much of a fan of it. I've tried, different vellum papers. I've tried individual sheets of different Stonehenge paper. I've tried black papers. I've tried sandpaper. I think the only paper that I haven't tried with colored pencils is pastel matte. That's like the one that that I've noticed has gotten more popular to use with colored pencils. And so I don't know how that works, but people do really like it. So maybe it's a potential favorite of mine, because I do love pastel matte, but that's with pastels. So oh, hey there, Christy. I didn't see you come in. Yeah, I'd say that's just about true. Just about every aspect of art is certainly personal preference. I'd say where personal preference is left behind is probably the quality of art supplies, and that includes paper. You know, people may enjoy really working with Crayola colored pencils, but I would never ever in my lifetime recommend those to somebody that is looking to get into working with colored pencils. So there's a small degree of of non-personal preference that I think needs to be acknowledged. But yeah, overall, I'd say nearly everything is personal preference. No, I have not tried the pastel mat yet. Any alternative to solvent? Well, there's so many different brands of solvent. If you can't find a solvent in your local store, I like a local art store, because there's like a 0% chance that they don't have it. Like, I don't think there's an art store in existence that doesn't have at least one form of solvent, because the solvent that you can use just about anything. And the solvent that I started out working with was just an odorless mineral spirit that is often used to clean or thin oil paints. So you can use that stuff, or you can use like a terpenoid, which is like an alternative to turpentine, but it doesn't have a scent. So there's a lot of different solvents that you can use. I'm using Zest-It, and you can order that online. Since it's non-toxic, it's not flammable or anything, it doesn't cost extra to have it shipped. I don't know which country you live in, but it's available in most countries, and even if it's not in your exact country, you might be able to get it shipped from somewhere else. What paper do you recommend for markers? Oh, for markers, I recommend the Strathmore Bristol plate paper. I have yet to use a paper that outperforms this this paper that I'm using right now, which is the Strathmore Bristol plate paper. I won't lie, it's expensive paper, but I have yet to find a paper that outperforms it with markers, ink, and colored pencils. I love working with markers on this paper. Yeah, Gamsol is also another brand that nearly every art store has. That's what I usually uh, that's what I usually use to clean my oil paint brushes, and just use in general when I paint with oils. And it was actually Gamsol was the first solvent that I ever used with colored pencils also, because I started oil painting before I ever used colored pencils. Um, I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I understand the question about texture in a very small drawing or something like that. I'm not quite sure how to answer the question. If you could maybe rephrase it a little bit different, I might have an answer for you. I mean, when you're doing a small anything, you have to think less about texture and more about form and just what information that you can put into the drawing in order to get it to look like what you're trying to get it to look like. All right, I think I'm going to smooth this out a little bit. Let me just grab my solvent. I want to get rid of some of these pencil lines. Grab a tissue here also. Since the paper is so smooth, I don't need nearly as much solvent, so I'll use a tissue to soak up the excess. Just to smooth out that black that I've added so far. I'm fine with a little bit of texture showing through as far as horizontal lines, because the texture of the cloth of the shirt. So I'll try to keep a disciplined brush stroke so that I hide all those horizontal lines within the texture of the shirt itself. And I'm still going to use a bit of the light gray for highlights, so even if I overextend my black a little bit, it will be okay. Oh, hey there, Demetra. That glare is driving me nuts over here. Try to move my light. There we go. That's a little bit better for me. Usually I have this light here because I feel like it just makes a little bit better lighting for the camera, but it causes this terrible glare for me. What's the plan for the next days? Looks like the shirt is about to be perfectly done. Um, well, I would be surprised if the shirt would be perfectly done by the end of today. Um, but regardless of how close I get it to being done today, I think tomorrow I'm gonna work. I think I'm gonna work on my face and try to get that up a little bit closer to completion. And depending on how far I get with that, I suppose maybe I'll start on the arm down here and get the colors better on the arm, because right now the arm just has like a single base layer and it's far too light in color. It's very pale. You can see the difference between my actual skin color and the skin color there. So quite a ways to go on the arm. Get it looking a little bit better. And let's see, that would take us up to the 24th. So beyond that, I really don't know. Just kind of, the background's completely done. Maybe once I touch up the skin tones a little bit, I'll come back to the shirt and get it looking better, and the hair also. I'll just put in a little bit of work on each section, slowly building up the values to the degree in which they need to be, and then for the last couple of days of the month, I'll just do the detail polishing. I'll just focus on any of the little parts that I don't like, because there's still a bit of the shirt that I don't quite like, and so it'll take a little bit of extra time to just kind of work those details out in a way that I can get it looking the way that I want it to. And everything, for me, just about everything has that stage where it looks like it's completely done, but there's just really small things that I want to correct or alter to make it look better from my perspective. And so, the way the shirt looks now, the shirt looks 1,000 times better than when I started today. Now that I have some of the shadows built in, you can start to see the wrinkles more, because when I had initially done it, a lot of the paper was still showing through, and even though it looked better with the shadows and the highlights kind of laid out, I then went back over it with my dark grays and my light grays to cover the paper completely. And now that I'm coming back and adding the shadows, it looks 1,000 times better than it did, a few days ago. So that's just what a little bit of patience does to your colored pencil work. Just really making sure that you cover the paper, and you can get these kind of results here. Sounds just wrong when you say you're going to work on your face. Yeah. It feels a little wrong to say it. The black is a lot smoother now. The shadows and stuff, I got rid of most of the pencil grain. And I only dipped my brush in the solvent one time, and I even used the tissue to squeeze out the rest of the solvent. So I've been basically using just a dry brush the entire time. This just goes to show you how little of solvent you really need on a brush to do blending. This is why what is this, 250? Yeah, 250 milliliter container of this Zest. It has lasted me like 2 years already, and it's still more than halfway full. So I probably have somewhere around, I don't know, 120 milliliters of it left. Oh, hi there, Debbie. Yeah, I did a little bit of chores this morning. I had to clean up the house. It was kind of driving me nuts. Sometimes you just have to declutter and clean some things up before you can enjoy the rest of your day. I don't think I would have been able to enjoy much of my day at all if I hadn't taken the time to do a little bit of morning cleaning, sweeping and mopping the floor and all of that. See if my wife notices when she comes home. I gotta get these buttons filled in too, in order to make them look a bit more natural. I think I might just do that now and just use a little bit of this gray. If you guys have any more questions for me, don't hesitate to ask. Chat is awfully quiet today. I feel like this whole section here is probably the most difficult part of the shirt. There's just so many unique folds and things going on. Would crawfish be vegan or not? No. It's an animal. Vegan is 100% no animals. That's an interesting question. Not sure if I've ever gotten that question before. No animals and no animal products. So like caviar, that's well, I mean that's kind of an animal product, but it's also sort of an animal. Milk, eggs, those are animal products as well. So no milk, no eggs. Do I speak Polish? Nie mówię po polsku. That is how I say I do not speak Polish. I have tried. I've tried to study it. It always gets very frustrating in lack of use. I don't. I think I mentioned it yesterday. I don't get out too much, so I don't have to. I don't use Polish consistently, and then also a large portion of the population speaks English, so it makes it pointless most of the time. And even when I do speak Polish, they always just end up speaking English back to me. So I just kind of lost motivation for it, I guess. Maybe one day. Maybe one day. Why did I move to Poland? That's always a fun story. I mean, the short answer to the question is I moved here for my girlfriend. Well, she's my wife now, but she was then my girlfriend. So the short story is that when I was in university, getting my degree in math, I did YouTube videos as just a hobby. It was just something fun that I liked to do. My wife came across my artwork and commented on it. And then she became a stalker, and she just commented on everything and liked everything, and she was my biggest fan. And she once gave me some advice about talking in my videos. And I said that I'd try to talk more in my videos because I never used to talk in my videos. And I asked her if there was something that I could draw for her, because back then I was just doing anything I could to gain more followers. And so I used to do subscriber portraits, and I used to just take on whatever ideas people would give me. And her dog had passed away, and so she asked me if I would draw her dog. And I did. I drew her dog. And eventually, after a couple months of her Facebook and YouTube stalking me, we became friends on Facebook, and in between classes we just started chatting through Facebook Messenger and got to know each other. I had a lot less of a life when I was in college than I do now. Because really the only difference between then and now is that I don't have hours and hours of homework that I have to do. But when I was in college, I did, so I had far less of a life. If you can imagine what that looks like. Which basically comes down to I didn't have time for a real life girlfriend. So it was very convenient to just develop a relationship with my wife over the internet. She lived in Germany at the time. And eventually, I asked her if she wanted to be in an exclusive relationship, because at the time we were just talking and being friendly to one another. And she wanted to be in an exclusive relationship, so that's when we kind of started developing more intimate feelings towards one another. Of course, we had never met each other, and we started Skyping after that, after we kind of said to each other that, I don't really, I'm not going to look for another person to be with, so you're my girlfriend, I'm her boyfriend. That was the basic gist of it in the beginning. And we just started Skyping, and I decided between summer quarter and winter quarter in school that I would plan a trip out to Poland to see her for the first time. Many of you probably have seen that video on my channel because I made a video of it. I stayed out here for about a month after I had met her for the first time, and then went back to the United States, and a year later I graduated from college. After I graduated from college, I applied for my master's program in education because, as many of you know, my plan was to be a high school math teacher. I did not get accepted into the master's program, unfortunately. So I decided to take a year off school And by that point, we had been dating for 2 years. And so I told her, you know what, maybe I'll just come to Poland and spend the year off of school with you in Poland. And that's what ended up happening. About 7 months later is when I proposed. And 6 months after that, we got married. And during the time that during the year that I had spent in Poland, I focused on making YouTube. I focused on making money through YouTube. I didn't really like focus too much on like making it a long-term career, because what are the odds of being able to do that in the first place? But somehow within a year, I was able to. Within a year of dedicating my time and energy to YouTube, I was able to make it my full-time career and make enough money that I felt like it justified continuing it. And here we are, 3 years later, still doing this and still living in Poland. Although I'd actually talked to my wife very recently about moving to the United States, but we both hate the prospect of it. Not because like we hate the United States. That wouldn't be the case. The bigger issue is just financially. Because she asked me, like, if we move to the United States, how comfortable is it going to be? And I said it's going to be very uncomfortable, because I don't make enough to support both of us in the United States, because she wouldn't be able to work. And right now we live super comfortable, and neither one of us wants to give that up yet. So that's why we continue to live in Poland. She has a good job here, good paying job, and it just makes life super simple for us to stay here. What about cinema? Are the films in English? I'll just correct the question there. Yes, a majority of the films are in English. Nearly all of the large films, but all the animated movies are dubbed in Polish, so I can't watch any animated movies, with the exception of something that's like as big as Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. That one was they alternate the movie. If it's a really big film, sometimes they will dub it, like live action. Sometimes they'll dub it, and then they will always have subtitles. So they'll play a dubbed version of the movie, and then they'll play a subtitled version of the movie the next showing. So they alternate the showings. So that's usually how it works. Any of the smaller scale animated movies will always be dubbed, and they won't show they won't show a subtitled version, probably because it's the target audience is kids, and kids don't speak English, and they probably, they're probably not going to be able to read it fast enough to watch a subtitled movie, and it's probably just not worth the money to get the subtitles or whatever, however they do it. I don't know how they do it, but whatever. You get the idea. That's how it works. So today, like I said, we're gonna go watch the John Wick Chapter 3 movie, and we'll be watching it with subtitles, Polish subtitles, just to make that clear. The movie is in English. When the movie is in English, the subtitles are in Polish. With movies like John Wick, where you inevitably have to deal with foreign languages, because, I mean, come on, what John Wick movie isn't going to have Russian in the movie? Like, every single one of them is going to have some Russian guy somewhere saying something, right? I'd be surprised if that's not the case with this movie. But you got other movies that have like fictional languages, Star Wars, things like that. And the problem there is that the subtitles, it doesn't, if it has a lot of a non-Polish, non-English language in the movie, the subtitles only show up in Polish. So there's been times where it's a little overwhelming, and I missed things about the movie because I don't speak the language that they're speaking, and I don't know enough Polish to understand everything. In some cases, I do okay. I mean, I have an okay. I can't even. I have a super mediocre Polish vocabulary, so sometimes I get away with it, and I can understand still what's happening, given the context. But other times I just miss it completely, and it's too fast for my wife to like lean over and tell me what they're saying, because she would have to read it, translate it, and then say it to me before the next line, which usually I just don't bother her. And I just sit there in the movie theater waiting for somebody to speak English again. It doesn't happen very often, though. Hey there, Artsy Studio. Good to see you. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad you like the way that it's coming together. Oh, you know what? I just realized it's 1400 now. Chrissy, Extras Art, she's going to be live streaming in about 20 minutes. So I think I'm going to call it a day. I thought I'd get closer to getting the shirt done than what I have it, but I think that it looks like 10 times better. So the shirt definitely looks a lot better than it did when I started today. it has a lot more three-dimensional quality to it. So yeah, I'd give it a good progression, I think. But I'm not going to take too much more of your time. I just want to put in a few of the highlights, and then I'm going to call it a day. So make sure you go over to Chrissy's channel to tune into her live stream. It starts, like I said, in about 20 minutes, and I will be over there for a little bit today. Like I said, today's date night with my wife, so I'm going to be leaving, going into town to watch John Wick. But yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys over at Chrissy's stream. I hope that you enjoyed today's live stream. I was a little bit quieter today, a little less rambly, but I appreciate you guys coming by and hanging out, and I'm glad you're enjoying the process of this self-portrait. Hopefully you're learning something throughout these series of live streams. Really, you guys are, the ones that dictate how much you'll learn by asking questions. So I really appreciate your questions. Really appreciate your time coming by and watching. I'll stream tomorrow morning-ish my time, probably quite early. My time is when I'll stream. I'll schedule it out right after I finish. I've been forgetting to schedule out the next stream, so I need to do that after I finish today's a little bit sooner. I think I'll make some food and I'll tune into Chrissy's stream to hang out with all of you lovely people in a slightly different way. Just adding a few little highlights here and there, kind of mapping them out where I want them. Yeah, but I think I think the shirt looks a lot better today. A lot better. It's certainly moving along. You can just kind of imagine how much better the shirt looks now than it did when I started, and you can pretty much apply that same scale of difference to my face and my arm once I start working on them. And even though I still have quite a bit to do with the shirt, tomorrow I'll work on the face and try to get the colors more bold and a little bit more three-dimensional, just looking better overall. So yeah, I will see you guys over there on Chrissy's stream. Again, thank you so much for coming by and hanging out, and I will see you next time. Take care. Peace.